My house, my rules is a fun little one that gets thrown around from time to time. Most of the times it makes sense, but in this situation, does it make sense? G'day there guys, it's your main man Markee, and welcome back to another episode of r/Am I the Arsehole? Now if you love today's bloody good stories, I want you to sit back, relax and enjoy. Thank you. Am I the arsehole for telling my parents I will have sex in their house whether they like it or not? I, 22 female, have a generally good relationship with my parents. We all get along, but they're a bit more conservative than me. I recently decided to move back to their city for a job offer that I took. My parents haven't been doing too well financially and asked me if I wanted to move back in with them for a while. I figured why not. I pay part of the mortgage, and in exchange, don't need to do as many chores as I would usually have to do. About 6 months ago, I started dating my now boyfriend. He lives a few kilometers out of town, so it makes sense for him to stay the night at my place and not the other way around. The other day, my parents approached me and told me that they don't want him to stay over anymore because they don't want their daughter to have sex in their house. I was a bit taken aback and told them that I'm sorry, but I'm an adult, and it's not like we're loud or anything. They basically said their house, their rules, to which I just laughed because I pay 40% of the mortgage payment, and if it wasn't for me, the house would likely not be theirs anymore. So I told them the my house, my rules BS wouldn't fly with me, and if it bothered them so much, I would just get my own place like right now. But I certainly will not be told when I can and can't have sex. Now they're upset because they think I'm trying to blackmail them, but I'm like, mate, I'm paying for this place, so I'll screw whoever and whenever I want. Am I the arsehole? OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the arsehole. My parents think I'm an arsehole because it's disrespectful to them if I don't respect their authority in their own house. Look, OP, you make a good argument, you've fought your case very well, I respect you for that. Not everyone can cop a good shag under their parents' roof, and that is understandable. I do agree that if you're paying 40% of the mortgage, that you get to do just as much as they do under their own roof. I'm sure if the ball was in your court, they'd think you're an arsehole for saying, oh, well, I pay 60%, you two aren't allowed to shag under here, it's more mine than yours now. Anyway, I'll leave it to ya, not the arsehole. Now in the comments, GG Park says, not the arsehole. Normally, I would say don't have sex in your parents' home, but you're paying 40% of the mortgage, so they've kind of lost the high ground. Well, what if she told them she'd only have sex 40% of the time? Okay, not the arsehole. Not the arsehole. This living arrangement was at your parents' request because they needed help paying their mortgage. In this scenario, you aren't their daughter. You're their housemate who is paying 40% of the mortgage. If they continue to give you grief, move out. Exactly. It's emotionally complicated, but legally, you're a tenant paying the rent, and that comes with rights, including the right to do what you like, within reason, in the space you pay to rent. Not the arsehole. And I disagree with other commenters saying that you're a jerk. 1. It sounds like OP is respectful until her parents pulled the our house, our rules card. It is not only their house now, they have a tenant. And 2, her parents are claiming that she's blackmailing them. This is far from blackmail. OP just told them that she'd get her own place if it bothered them. This is a very reasonable reaction from OP. Agreed. The idea that she's disregarding her parents' authority is stupid. Parents don't have authority over their adult children just because they are parents. They can have rules for their house, and their children can decide if they want to abide by them. OP has said that she doesn't accept those rules, and therefore chooses not to live with them. The issue comes in that most adults living with parents are doing it because the parents are financially supporting them. But here, it's the other way around, and OP is doing her parents a favor by supporting them. And now on to the update. Hi guys, my last post got more replies than I thought it would, hence the update. You may have guessed it, when I made the post I was pretty upset about what had happened. I've since calmed down and thought about my options. Since no one knows how much longer my parents need help with the mortgage for, I decided to move out. If I had known it would be 6 months or even a year, it would have been different, but I don't want to stay indefinitely. I think moving out is better for our relationship, since they can't seem to understand that I'm an adult who is used to living by herself, paying my own bills, and most importantly, having a certain amount of freedom. When I let them know what I'd decided, they obviously weren't thrilled, but in the end, they understood and agreed that it's for the best. I suggested they could rent out my room to make some extra money, and it seems like that's what's going to happen. The house is pretty nice and in a good spot, so it shouldn't be too hard to find someone. As for myself, I'll be moving into my own place again. I'm currently looking at some houses and apartments, and it looks like I'm either moving to the CBD or a beach suburb. That's all, guys. It all turned out pretty well, I'd say. Mbop Doombop says, I had a kinda similar situation to yours. I once paid my mum and stepdad £800 a month all in to live in their house that they were struggling to sell after they moved. There was a little bit of friction with them coming round and telling us to keep the place tidy and wash our dishes, because one day someone might want to come round and visit on short notice. One day we all had a big sit down and my stepdad told us we were caretakers, not tenants. And I told them I was leaving immediately. You pay caretakers. I've forgiven them since. Ancient history now. Still galling when I remember it. So many parents want to charge rent and then be all like, my house, my rules. If you're charging any amount of rent, it isn't only your house anymore. What are they going to do if they rent out the room and the person living with them has a guest or sex? I'm not a lawyer, but they may not have legal grounds to stop that happening or evict the tenant for doing so. I'm glad it's worked out for you, but your parents may need to consider whether or not they're actually prepared to share their home with someone else. The original post said they don't want their daughter having sex under their roof. Having a renter and some random person may not be better, but it is different. Our next post is titled, Am I the asshole for respecting my late wife's wishes about keeping her family out? My wife unfortunately passed away last year when our daughter was only 3 months old. It was very difficult to get through, but my little girl and I are keeping it together. My daughter is 16 months now, and there's been pressure from my wife's sister to let her side of the family see my daughter. The issue is my wife had absolutely no contact with her family since she was 18, so 16 years of not seeing them. Her home life was something that she never wanted to talk about. It always made her upset, so I never pushed her to tell me. All I know is that they were manipulative and abusive in some form. She left as soon as she was 18, changed her last name, and never spoke to them again. 4 years ago, she got into contact with her older sister, and she's the only person my wife allowed into our lives. By that, I mean we met through video chat, but never actually in person. We still maintained contact after my wife passed, and we met a couple times before and during my wife's funeral. My sister-in-law called me a few weeks ago. She mentioned her parents would really like to meet their granddaughter and want to start over. They didn't attend my wife's funeral because they knew she wouldn't want them to be there. One thing my wife always made clear is that she did not want them near our daughter, ever. Telling my sister-in-law this, well, she got very upset. She said it's been years, and yes, her parents were awful people. Again, won't say exactly what they did, but losing their daughter has made them reflect on things, and they want to meet my daughter since my wife never gave them that chance. She's still trying to convince me, and so far I've said no. Each time I just feel more and more bad for denying them, but it's what my wife wanted. Her parents found my Facebook, and I'm pretty sure sister-in-law might have told them, and I've gotten dozens of messages begging me to let my daughter know her mum's side of the family, and that I shouldn't keep her from knowing her grandparents for past mistakes. None of them will leave me alone, and sister-in-law has said a few times that I may be grieving losing a wife, but to have some empathy for them losing a child, because right now, I'm being too heartless for denying them the chance to meet the only piece of my wife they have left. I'm at my wit's end with this because I'm not sure if I'm being an asshole or not. I don't know the whole reason why my wife never wanted to see them again, and even if I did though, I'd like to still honor her wish. The way they are being, however, makes it hard not to wonder if I am. OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. I think I could be an asshole for respecting my late wife's wishes, but going against what her family wants. Look, OP, your wife didn't want to tell you the reasons and what they did to her, and these people will not tell you what they did to her. That tells me what they've done is something completely unforgivable and absolutely warrants them being disconnected from. Possibly even goes into the realm of these people deserve jail time for what they've done to her? Do you really want the possibility, even a smidgen of a possibility, of that being repeated on your daughter? Because I feel like that is what is to come in the future. I'm gonna say not the asshole for respecting your wife's wishes. Now in the comments, Birdie Pet says, not the asshole. Quote, all I know is they were manipulative and abusive in some form. The best prediction of future behavior is past behavior. Quote, none of them leave me alone. I'm at my wit's end with this because I'm not sure if I'm being an asshole or not. You're getting a glimpse of their manipulative tactics. And quote, one thing my wife always made clear is that she did not want them near our daughter, ever. Then honor her wish. If the family really didn't attend the funeral to respect her wishes, I'm sure they'd do the same here. Don't let them near your daughter ever, OP. And talk to a lawyer. The death of a parent can be grounds for grandparents' rights. Look, grandparents' rights don't supersede parental rights in a case where there is a living and active parent though. Edit to add because of all the similar replies, I'll just put this here. I'm using OP's post as the hypothetical that my comment references. There isn't a statute in the USA that will force a parent to give visitation to the grandparents given the OP's situation. Grandparents' rights are obviously real, they just do not apply here, presuming that OP is in the USA. Puglove91 says, not the asshole. Do not let them have anything to do with your daughter. The last thing you want is to allow them to have a relationship with your daughter, and then after a while you see exactly why your wife didn't want anything to do with them, because depending where you live, if they have an established relationship with your daughter, they can go for grandparents' rights. As of right now, they have no grounds. Cut the sister-in-law off too. She's just giving you a taste of how toxic the rest of your wife's family are. Protect your child. And OP replies, thank you for the advice. With everything on my plate, it's just been so overwhelming, and now this whole situation. I want to be able to honor my wife's wishes, whatever the reason was that made her cut all contact with them. And do not believe the parents' crap that they're grieving the loss of their child. They abused her and lost her completely 16 years ago. They deserve nothing. The fact neither your wife or her sister can even dictate, in even a vague or more generalized way, the abuse that occurred, means it was truly horrendous. Tell your sister-in-law this is a permanent and hard no, and if she cannot accept and respect that fully, which means providing no information to her parents, then she cannot have contact with your child either. You need to be very careful with her, even if it appears she's going along with this. You'll likely need to cut her off too anyway, as she's already shown that she's on their side. The part where she left at 18 and changed her last name tells me that it was really bad. Not the asshole, block everyone and move on. And now on to the update. Thank you everyone for all the lovely comments and support. I was really worn down with this whole ordeal, so all your input was very appreciated. There was a lot of you that expressed your concerns about what my wife's family's intentions were and warned me about taking precautions to keep my daughter safe. I have taken these into consideration and have made steps to ensure they have no access to any information that could disclose our location. And yes, in the end, I did decide that it was best to cut off all contact, not only with my wife's parents, but with her sister too. I tried to get through to her many times about why I'd like to respect my wife's call on this, since she knew her family best and what they did. Despite all the reassurance that her parents have changed, she still refused to actually say what went down, so that was not at all convincing for me. Once I blocked them all, I was getting calls from different numbers the following days. I sent one final message to her sister stating that they're never allowed near me or my daughter, and if they ever tried to come harass us, I will get the authorities involved. Since then, it was radio silence for the last couple weeks, but I decided to play it safe a few days ago and changed my phone number. I've also deleted my Facebook since I don't use it that often, but have put my other social media accounts on private. I got so many great suggestions from many of you about how to make sure they have absolutely no access to my daughter, so I really appreciate that. I've saved a few of these comments in case I need some extra tips in the future as my daughter gets older and starts school. Since I last posted and have cut contact, I feel like I can finally breathe. You have no idea how stressful and draining the whole thing was for me, so really, thank you for all the help. I've been more at peace putting this all behind me and focusing on my beautiful little girl. Just wanted to leave this update since I know there was a lot of concern about how this would all play out. Thanks again, internet strangers. Now in the comments, please tell me that you have a will and a plan if, God forbid, anything happens to you. These people have shown themselves to be untrustworthy in concerns to your child. And OP replies, "Oh, absolutely. We already had one prepared before my wife passed. My daughter's godparents, my sister and her husband, would be the ones who would look after her." And passing along advice, get more. It's the advice given by a lawyer to my best friend, mother of my godchildren, in order to ensure her abusive mother-in-law and stepfather-in-law never get custody if something happens to her and her husband. She and her husband were encouraged to have a bench 3 deep to show the extent to which they don't want his mum and stepdad to get custody. The list is her parents, his brother, who suffered even worse abuse for being gay, and then me. They also have a letter being held by the lawyer who wrote out the will explaining the abuse he suffered at the hands of his mum and stepdad, and pictures of them acting in a reckless manner. One photo includes clearly visible pot, tons of bottles of vodka, and messing around with guns. It would make it quite clear they aren't to get custody. And another commenter says, "You can tell you did the right thing because they were already bringing a lot of bad energy without them being in yours or your daughter's life yet. And now never." Quote, "You have no idea how stressful and draining the whole thing was for me. So really." So very true. My God, I didn't realize just how exhausted I truly was until after I completely blocked them off. And please realize that if in the future the sister-in-law reaches out to you and decides to tell you the whole story, it is likely she is lying. Realize that it was such a horrible thing to happen to your wife that she couldn't even speak of it. The fact that even after she'd passed, it haunts her family and has become unspeakable is enough to never give them a chance. It would probably all be a lie anyway. What happened to your wife never has to happen to your daughter. You will do your best to protect you both, because that's all that matters now. I'm proud of you for cutting them off and making clear boundaries. Hopefully your daughter learns as she grows up that they are not good for her. Best of luck. Anyway guys, I think that's where I'm going to end today's video. If you did like it, tell me what you thought about it down in the comments below, and make sure to just interact with everyone in this community. I love each and every one of you that I get to see on a daily basis. And don't forget, if you are a Patreon subscriber, I love you. You're on the screen right now with the YouTube members as well. If you see yourself, give yourself a pat in the back. You guys help me continue this YouTube journey. You keep me going. I see you guys everywhere. I see your messages, and thank you so much for supporting me. I really love every single one of you. But with that all said, I'm going to be signing off now, guys. I hope you have a good day, night, sleep, whatever you're up to, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.